Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today for today's CMA Showcase video. I'm really excited. I know I always say this, but I am really excited about meeting with the fantastic Sam Starr. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah,
Oh, it's
great honor.
yeah, no, it's fantastic to have you. The reason I'm so excited to be able to speak to you, we touched on it earlier before we jumped online. Your topic is so interesting to me, both as a sort of from a professional perspective, but also from a really personal perspective as a practitioner myself. Um,
Mm.
I think the work that you do it lends a whole new dynamic to the way that practice works. So, would you be able to tell our audience about the work that you do and what your specialism actually is?
Yes, thank you. So I have devised a framework which I call Ground and Rise, and it's a psychological framework for reading the tarot. So it is as I was. I'll tell you a little bit about how I got here in a moment, but the actual framework itself is based on the model of psychosynthesis psychology. So I'm a psychosynthesis psychologist. And as I was venturing into learning about the tarot, I realized that there are so many different ways that you can interpret the tarot. It has an infinitesimal aspect to it. It is that there's no limits. And so when you're learning it, it can feel very intimidating, very overwhelming. And so I've created a framework, this psychological framework, which means that it feels very grounded. So it's a very grounded way to approach working with the tarot psychologically in order to then really expand and reach into, well, I mean, of course, intuition, tuning in, depth, self-reflection, but also obviously being able to do that in the context of client work as well. So reaching that depth with your client, being able to have a contained way to approach using the tarot in order to be of service to your clients so that they can reach their depth as well. So yeah, that's my work.
It's fantastic and amazingly valuable work. Um, it's an unusual approach. I think a lot of people will be thinking, but tarot isn't that sort of like fortune telling? And certainly, I'm aware of the use of tarot from the Jungian perspective and Jung's work with archetypes and so on. So I'm familiar with that, and I think a lot of people in this field will be. However, I think, well, I might be wrong, but is the use of tarot within the psychosynthesis context unusual? I think it is because I think you're blazing the trail here.
Oh, thank you. Well, the founder of psychosynthesis psychology, who was an Italian called Roberto Assagioli, he was a contemporary of Jung. He actually wrote his thesis with Jung in Austria. So he is very much in the transpersonal psychology field. Is it different or how does it differ to Jungian approach? Well, Assagioli created a model of self that includes lots of different levels of the unconscious, more than Jung actually. And so we're able to work with the cards in a way that accesses unconscious at different levels. No, it's not fortune telling, but it does include what's happening for us at the higher unconscious level. And of course, if we were to think about the difference between, say, a lower unconscious and a higher unconscious aspect of self, then the lower unconscious may be very much about what's coming back in from our childhood, what patterns are being repeated that are seeking to be healed, seeking to be witnessed. In contrast to the higher unconscious aspects, which maybe that calling, that call of self, that longing to be living a more aligned, perhaps creative, artistic, ethical, yeah, this sort of calling unconsciously. And then with this approach, the ground and rise approach, where do they meet in this present moment as we turn the cards? What is present today as those two aspects of self? So that's just two aspects of unconscious, of course. So psychosynthesis includes a number of different layers of unconscious that we can turn a card for and explore what's happening inwardly for that person the inner experience of self and the many aspects of self. And of course, there's also the subpersonality theory, which was developed by Assagioli. Again, many different aspects of self and how do they interact with one another. So you can do very effective parts work using this approach.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a psychological framework that's very robust. This is not esoteric. This is not about predicting the future. But yes, we may call upon the potential of what the future looks like in order to explore in the present moment how that lands for the individual, so they can decide where their will is. Where is my will in this? Is am I stuck on this journey towards that potential, or do I see how I may be able to free up my will so that I can align it with a different sort of will, perhaps a universal will?
Mm.
What is emerging for me, and what is being called for from me in order that I may step into this more authentic, aligned experience of self? Yeah.
Yes, it's such a fascinating and huge topic actually, and I think so incredibly important. So, do you find that you tend to draw towards you a particular type of client, or is there a particular type of client that you prefer to work with, or can literally anybody come along and benefit from this?
I'm laughing because tomorrow evening I'm actually reading the tarot at a corporate event for a
Oh,
festive event. So I'll be doing, 5-minute quick readings.
yes.
That is obviously wonderful. And of course anyone will benefit from this approach. Where I really enjoy working is with coaches and therapists, well-being practitioners. So
Mm.
these are people who are already invested in this exploration of self and who are willing to work at depth with it. So
Mm.
perhaps want to explore how they can find meaning or another sort of grounding practice. Let's put it alongside meditation,
Yes.
yoga. Let's get tarot pulling in there as well in this way, because boy, is it a great way to get grounded if you're having a day where you're in service of others and you're actually, feeling like you need a bit of grounding.
Yes.
Brilliant for that.
Yeah.
So well-being practitioners might come to me to learn the tarot this way, or for a CPD experience. So there's a one-to-one coaching experience that, in the context of CPD, allows them to really explore how tarot can create this self-reflective piece, because of course everyone has to demonstrate that they're reflecting on what's going on in their world if they're going to, being of service to others. And at the same time, learning through experience how to find the question underneath the question, how to be able to hold complex experiences of self, and to be okay with the perhaps discomfort or what's being asked of them. Maybe it's even rest, which a lot of people need to hear sometimes, and the tarot is very good at that. So yeah, I think mostly it's well-being practitioners, coaches and therapists who are curious about working this way for themselves and perhaps in client work as well.
Yes, that is so helpful because the thing is, I mean, it's essential for all of us as practitioners to, first of course, be under supervision or to have some sort of a mentor that you can bounce things off. I think it's just so important because we take on so much throughout the day when we're sitting with people and sometimes hearing the most disturbing things and dealing with people who are really struggling health wise, mentally, emotionally, physically, or spiritually. And so, yes, I totally get that. I really hear you. And I think it's a fantastic thing to be able to offer. Um, do people have to come to you in person, or can you work with people remotely?
I do both, yeah. So I have this is my client space in Northwest London. So people might come here, and this is my tarot space. I've also got a fitting up above, which means that if we are online, as we are now, Jayney, I also have another camera that will show the table so that together we would be able to have a three-way conversation, you, me, and the cards, and you'd have sight of the cards. So remote or in person is fine. In fact, I have it's been wonderful reaching and being part of different coaching therapeutic communities. And there's a worldwide community that I'm a member of. So actually, I have a lot of Americans who really enjoy working this way. So yeah, it really, there's no limits. Yeah.
That is absolutely fantastic. It's strange, isn't it? Because I think is that something that you did prior to COVID and lockdown, or is that something that you've developed as a strategy afterwards?
It was during COVID and lockdown that I started to learn the tarot. I had
Oh,
touched a deck before then. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So why? What was the catalyst there?
I've been pulling cards all of my life. I've been consulting the I Ching and been very connected to the more than, the great mystery, because my father died when I was 18, and my mum's not been able to be there for me in my life in the way that I've needed her to be. So without parental guidance, actually pulling a card or consulting the I Ching was very important for me. But never the tarot. It felt way too big, a bit scary. I didn't really know, I needed a proper introduction. Um, what happened was my life changed a lot in the 2019 because I left my husband and my career because we'd built a business together. And so I went back to university, did a master's degree in psychosynthesis psychology. And during that period, I had a dream that one day I would make my own deck of cards. And when it came to writing my thesis, I figured that, well, if I'm going to make my own deck of cards, I'd better get to grips with the tarot. I better join a tarot academy and learn. And at that point, my brother had just passed away, sadly, during COVID. I got a tiny inheritance from him, and it was exactly the same amount of money of the price of the Tarot Academy. And
Wow.
it felt exactly what I might not have invested in myself, Jayney, if it hadn't been for that.
Yes.
It's almost like that support from the great mystery,
Yes.
which is I've always believed, it's always sort of wrapped me and kept me safe in many ways. That connection was there for me during COVID. So actually, funnily enough, I went on holiday the August 2021, and I bought myself a tarot. Oh no, I had got my tarot deck that had been given to me. Arrived on holiday, got COVID, ended up self-isolating in a hotel room for 10 days with just me and my tarot deck. And I was like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna let's get going here. And so it was a strangely beautiful, poetic introduction.
Yeah.
And I absolutely fell in love with the experience because straight away, because of the thesis work that I was doing,
Yes.
I was mapping the cards onto models of psychosynthesis. Like, what happens if I do this? What
Yes.
sort of experience do I have? And suddenly the meanings came alive for me. Suddenly the experience of working with archetype came alive for me. And it was goosebump moments in that hotel room in Germany, just me in the car. So I was like, oh my God, it just felt so real. So I
Yeah.
wrote my thesis on how to use the tarot in a psychosynthesis context
Mm.
and how it I did research and I had a number of sitters who I was reading for and through the thesis I was able to demonstrate that when you're in the room with this particular context and you're pulling cards with this particular context, self, higher unconscious energies come into the space, and also what wants to be healed and what is present. It's you invite this experience of self that is so full and yet grounded because it is grounded in this psychological model of this transpersonal model, this psychospiritual experience of self, of the mind, body, and the spirit, and
Mm.
that ways that how do we integrate all of that and explore it. And so, yeah, that became my thesis work, and I have never put a deck down since. Yeah,
Yeah. It's really extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, it's the way that the way that things kind of just came together. It is meant to be, isn't it? Really, I mean, it's. I'm not really a fatalist, but you have to question, don't you? I mean, I do believe that we have a lot of, I do believe we have free will and we have a lot of choice. But sometimes you do have to look at patterns in life and think, hang on a second, and here I am exactly where I'm meant to be. And I find you can also look back and see patterns, and you think, gosh, I wouldn't be doing or able to do what I'm doing now if such and such and such hadn't happened 20 years, 30 years, 40 years ago. It's very, very strange. And I think as one gets older, the patterns become more evident, don't they? It's
well,
very,
and the moment where you say, oh, for example, right now,
yes,
I'm here having this conversation with you and feeling like I'm exactly where I should be, based on the fact that your company, CMA, accredited the Tarot Academy where I got my certification. So that's how I discovered you.
yes,
And again, if I hadn't, if yeah, I think it's also for me been a question of identity. Like I was really shifting out of a previous identity of I know who I am, and then suddenly I didn't know who I was.
mm,
Like, is it okay to say yes to these things? Dare I say yes? Because I'd like to, but there may be a version of me that would say, oh no, Sam, no, that's not credible, or
yeah,
that's
yeah,
whatever it is. And I've dared to say yes to myself more and more and more and more, so that I actually have a very strong sense of self because I've said yes to myself.
yeah.
Here we are. And here we are, Janie. Yes, exactly.
Sam, it makes absolute sense to me. It really does, and I know it will for our viewers and listeners. So I know that. I mean, aside from me being, a bit fangirling, like really like crazy, because I think you are remarkable. Your work is extraordinary, and you are an absolute trailblazer. It's so exciting for us to have you with us at the CMA, because I don't think anybody else is doing the work that you're doing. Certainly not that I know of. So I think that is incredibly exciting in and of itself. We're going to have to get you to certainly, when you have a spare nanosecond, but certainly get you to send perhaps in an article, because I'd love other practitioners to be able to read about the work that you do. So we can feature that in the CMA newsletter and, of course, on our website and in our socials, of course. But for those people who don't want to wait for that to happen, but want to jump in straight away with both feet and sort of get going with you, what is the best way for people to make contact with you, Sam?
Well, you can go to my website, which is sam-star.co.uk, star with a
Yes. Okay.
yeah, and you'll be presented with is really there's options to start learning the tarot this way straight away with a self-led online course. In 2026 there'll be some live workshops as well that you can participate in alongside that, or just to work one-to-one with me, either as a CPD experience, or as a standalone consultation if there's something that you would just want to spend an hour with the cards and exploring what this experience is like. Yeah, so that's all available at my website.
You've covered all the angles, anything that anybody could possibly want, I think, and I think it's really exciting. It's exciting about the way that you're developing this to make it even more accessible, Sam. So seriously, hats off to you. You're absolutely extraordinary, and yeah, we're so proud to have you with us. And so I just want to thank you for being here today. And I'm sure that we're going to need to bring you back again at some point in the not too distant future.